Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday, February 10th, and welcome back to the Nick Watkins Show. I'm Nick Watkins. Let's get into it. Pitchers and catchers reported today to spring training. That is wonderful news, music to my ears. Last year, typically what happens for a lot of baseball fans is when August rolls around and then September and later months of the baseball season, you kind of get baseball fatigue and you watch a lot less, especially if your team isn't good. And this year, the Giants were not very good, and we were horrible in August, pretty decent in September. But I was very surprised that I had no baseball fatigue last year, none at all. I was watching every single game that could have been watched, especially when the playoffs rolled around. I watched every single one. And when the season was over, instead of feeling relieved that the season was over, I was wishing for more baseball. And baseball's back now, but we got a whole bunch of off-season stuff to talk about. We're actually going to start though with the Warriors game, which happened last night. The Warriors beat the Memphis Grizzlies 114 to 113 in another wild game, and I'm really not sure how we won this game. I'm going to be honest with you. The Warriors trailed by, at one point, the biggest lead for the Grizzlies was 17, and that was at basically the start of the fourth quarter. They led by 17. I thought it was over. I'm not going to lie to you. But the Warriors came back. They held the Grizzlies to 8 points, or sorry, they held the Grizzlies to 5 points over the last 8 minutes of the game, while they scored 29 in the fourth quarter. And they came back, and another wild sequence at the end, just like the Phoenix game, where, the ball is going around like crazy. People are falling down, but the Warriors won the game. I'm still not sure how they did it, but it was another great team game where everybody contributed to the game. Everyone was performing well down the stretch, and the Warriors came back and won. And this is the second win in a row, another win without Steph. Or actually, it's not the second one in a row. We lost to the Lakers in between that. I completely forgot about that. It felt like forever ago. But the Warriors quietly won 2 games without Steph Curry, and obviously without Jimmy Butler. Porzingis didn't even play in this one, so we're doing it without him as well. So it's a good team win. It's good to see that the not Steph is the star, but it's good to see the background talent, the background players really coming together, having their moment even, but working well together as a team. So when Steph does get back, we can just keep it rolling, man. We keep rolling. So a 114 to 113 win over the Grizzlies. Big comeback win. Definitely good for momentum for the Warriors. So now let's talk baseball because pitchers and catchers have reported. And I'm so happy to say that because it means that baseball is back. And it really felt though like baseball never left. I mean, December was very slow. There was a 3 week stretch where nothing was happening for baseball, but this was such a crazy, crazy offseason with so many big names going to their new places. I just want to break down some of the big ones, um, and then we'll look at it at a Giants perspective as well. So the big signing this offseason was Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers on a 4 year, I think it was $240 million deal. He's making $60 million per year, the highest average annual value ever. I mean, they're paying him so much money. It's insane. I don't Obviously you can't say I don't know where they get the money from. We know where the money's coming from. It's coming from number one, they're in Los Angeles, so that's a huge market. Maybe with the exception of New York, the biggest market. Their ownership group is very wealthy. They have a lot of money, and they just keep winning. And when you win, you get money because there are jersey sales and ticket sales and concession sales, and the fans. The Dodgers have great fans. I I will give them that. Um, they also have a lot of bandwagons. But I mean, if you find a real Dodger fan, those guys are annoying. They're so annoying, but they're also pretty cool. My boss is a Dodger fan. He knows a lot about, sports. He's a really cool guy, except when the Dodgers are playing well. That and which is always. So that doesn't help. But the real Dodger fans, they're cool people. I don't hate them. I don't like them either. But anyway, we're getting beside ourselves here. The Dodgers have a ton of money to spend, and they spent money this year. They went out, they got Kyle Tucker, who was probably the best outfielder available to add to their one of two weaknesses the only two weaknesses they had. The other weakness was in the bullpen, so they went out and they signed arguably the best closer in baseball, Edwin Diaz. They gave him the most ever money for a reliever, 3 years, 69 million. It is getting tough to deal with for sure. There are questions about lockouts and you know the impending player meetings, the CBA. It's I don't know. This could spell doom for baseball in 2027. We might not have it if the deal can't be reached, and this certainly doesn't help these two deals that were made by the Dodgers. All you can say is the best team in baseball just got a whole lot better. They pretty much attacked their only two weaknesses. That team is really, really good. And they were vulnerable last year. The Blue Jays couldn't finish them off. So they won. Now here they are and they got better. It's pretty crazy. Um I don't know if anyone can take them down. Um and obviously it's a long season, 162 games, not including playoffs. Somebody very well could take them down. It could be the Mets. It could be the Padres. Maybe the Giants. I doubt it though. But there are a lot of games that have to be played, and nobody has ever won all of them. The most anyone's ever won is 116. The Mariners did that. So they're gonna lose games, and if they lose enough of them, they're not gonna be in an advantageous spot. That's a tongue twister. But when the playoffs roll around, it just feels like they go through the motions in the regular season and then they wake up when the playoffs start. That's what happened last year. Somebody's just got to get them in a bad spot and take advantage. So it's a long. Anything can happen. It's rare that you know the Yankees have done it, the Dodgers have done it the past 2 years, but it's very rare that like the super team, the preseason favorite, has everything go according to plan and win the World Series. Stuff gets disrupted, and baseball is a funny sport. It really is. Other big deals this offseason. Pete Alonso went to the Baltimore Orioles on a 5 year, $155 million deal. I like this for Baltimore. I like this for Alonso. He couldn't get the money he thought he was owed by the Mets, and it is unfortunate that he left there because he's their franchise home run leader, cornerstone of that franchise. But the Mets have moved on from that core. We'll get to that. The Mets made some moves, but for the Orioles, I like this move because in 2023 or 2024 they had a fantastic year. Almost won the division. They missed out on it by a game. And then this past season, massive disappointment from Baltimore. The pitching staff still leaves something to be desired, but they went out, they got Pete Alonso, they got Ryan Helsley as well to be their new closer. Um, he close? He probably will close if Bautista's not back in time, but yeah, the Orioles went out. They traded for Taylor Ward. They went out. They made some moves to try and get back into contention. The AL East is a very, very tough division, and all those teams made moves. Actually, let's just stay there in the AL East. Let's talk about the Blue Jays, the defending AL champions, defending AL East champions. They went out. They added to their pitching staff. They signed Dylan Cease to I believe it was 7 years. Yeah, 7 years, $210 million. Um, Good for the Blue Jays. I mean, their rotation was already good. Now they added another good right-hander, so now they have Gosman. young Trey Savage, now Cease and Barrios. Um, am I forgetting anybody? Noah can correct me on that, but the Blue Jays added the rotation pretty good there. The Blue Jays lost Bo Bichette, which is definitely unfortunate for them. He was like Pete Alonso, one of their uh, franchise faces of the franchise for a great number of years, but they did lose him. But they signed Dylan Cease. They signed Azamoto from Japan. He's a corner infielder. That's pretty cool. We'll see how he plays. But so the Blue Jays, they didn't get worse. I think they might have gotten a little bit better. Obviously, losing Bichette sucks, but yeah, so they got Cease in return for that. So that's cool for them. The Red Sox, they made a flurry of deals this offseason, some good, some bad. A lot of them were by trade. They traded for Sonny Gray. They traded for Johan Oviedo to add to the rotation. They signed Ranger Suarez out of the rotation. So the Red Sox rotation looks really good. The confusing part is what the heck they're doing in the field because they traded Rafael Devers to us. So thankful for that move. In order to clear up a spot for Alex Bregman to be the everyday third baseman without any drama. Bregman leaves for Chicago. We'll get to that. We'll stay in the AL East. But yeah, Bregman left for Chicago, so now that deal blew up in their faces, and they traded away Hicks and Harrison, who were the main guys that got back in the deal this offseason. And did they even sign any free agents for the field? And they missed out on Alonso. They obviously missed out on Bregman. They missed out on Schwarber, who re-signed with the Phillies. Did they even do anything? I mean, they traded for Wilson Contreras. Is that it? I mean, the moves to add to the rotation, I really like those moves, but they didn't really do anything in the field aside from trading from Caleb Durbin, which happened yesterday. So a very confusing offseason for the Red Sox. I think the way that they've handled the situation, I feel like it was not good. The rotational moves were excellent, getting Suarez and Gray to be behind Crochet. So that's a very scary three-headed monster at the top of the rotation. And the back half is also very sturdy. But, the offense is not as good. So I don't think that they definitely didn't get better, but they didn't get too much worse. So Red Sox are still hanging around in the AL East. They might even contend for a World Series this year. Who knows? But thank you, Boston, for Rafael Devers. We appreciate it. But anyway, let's stay in the AL East. The Rays made a couple of moves. They're not going to be contending, but the other contending team are, of course, the New York Yankees. They missed out on a lot of guys. They missed out on Tucker if they were even going for him. They lost a couple of bullpen pieces to the Mets. They managed to bring back Cody Bellinger as well as Trent Grisham, so the outfield, that's good for them. I don't even know if the Yankees really did anything. They just lost a couple of bullpen pieces, but aside from that, I think the entire lineup is the same. So, you know, you if you're the Yankees, you're the New York Yankees, you probably want to do some more things. But I guess they feel good about where they're at, and I don't blame them because they won, what was it, 91 games last year, 94 games. So I I don't I don't hate that they didn't do anything. I think it was good that they brought back some pieces that were crucial last year. And maybe they'll add at the trade deadline. Who knows? But the AL East is a very, very stacked division. There are four teams there who could legit win the division, maybe even win it all. AL East is a very, very good division, and all of them made big moves this offseason. But I think the winner there would probably be Baltimore because they didn't lose anybody per se, and they added Pete Alonso. I think the the best team, just as of right now, I'd probably say the Blue Jays, but you know, any one of those teams could win the division, and 1 through 4 could be separated by less than 10 games. It's pretty crazy to think about. Other notable moves. We'll just go from the East, we'll just move this way, staying in the AL. So we'll go to the Tigers, who signed Framber Valdez quite recently, actually. Um, Good move. Tarek Skubal won his arbitration case. So now they have Skubal and Valdez making big money at the top of the rotation. The Tigers are pretty much, I wouldn't say a lock, but they are the clear favorite to win the Central now that they have a very, very good starting rotation, like top heavy starting rotation. I don't think they really did anything in the field. They brought back Labor Torres on not arbitration, on a qualifying offer. So I mean, you the big question was would they trade Skubal, and they did not trade Skubal. He could still be dealt if they're underperforming, but I feel like for the Tigers, the priority has got to be re-signing Skubal. Whatever you have to do, I don't care how much money you have to give out because Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher in baseball. You gotta bring him back because you don't know if you're gonna get another guy like him. Um, yeah, you gotta do that. The one small move for the Tigers that happened today, Justin Verlander back for the Tigers to the Tigers could be his retirement tour, but back to the team where it all started. Wow, he was traded there almost 10. He was traded away from the Tigers almost 10 years ago. But yeah, so that means Unk isn't coming back. Um, what a weird. That was like a fever dream. Justin Verlander in a Giants uniform, but now he's back on the Tigers where it all started. He was so good for the Tigers, man. Um, just thinking about some other deals. Munetaka Murakami, the big free agent from Japan. There were like four of them, but Murakami was the big one. He went to the White Sox, an interesting move. And I do want to give some shout outs to the White Sox and the Pirates because they did something, and they have a team that looks like a Major League Baseball team. And I know that's like the bare minimum, but especially for the Pirates, they actually made moves. They recently signed Ozuna, O'Hearn. They traded for Brendan Lowe. Um, yeah, the Pirates, they have a very good rotation because they have Paul Skeens, the best pitcher in the NL. And the Pirates actually did stuff, and so did the White Sox. So good job, guys. That's good job. I'm proud of you. Um, what else? What else? What else? Uh, I don't know whether we're supposed to go like. Just trying to think. Because so much happened, so we really got to talk about it. Like, anyway, we'll go to the Astros. Tatsuya Imai, the big pitcher from Japan. The Giants were interested. A lot of teams were interested. He went to the Houston Astros. Pretty unexpected, but Houston has a very good rotation as well. He could be a good piece there. In the Did anything else happen big in the AL West? I'm trying to think. The Texas Rangers traded for Mackenzie Gore. They also traded Simeon to the Mets in exchange for Brandon Nimmo. That's interesting, and Rangers could be doing something there. Um, I don't think anything else big happened in the AL West. It's the A's, the Angels. Yeah, I guess that's it. AL West. The Mariners re-signed Josh Naylor. Seemingly that's it. So now let's go to the National League, and this is where a lot of crazy moves happen. A lot of pieces were moving around. Starting in the NL East, we'll go to the Mets. The Mets were the big team. They spent big this offseason, and they missed out on Kyle Tucker. They were one of the contenders there. So they made a flurry of moves right after Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers. They they signed Bo Bichette. It's seemingly going to be it's a 3 year deal, but opt out after one. It's like looking like Bichette is going to be staying there for just the year, just this year. He's making like 43, 41 per, which is pretty good. Um, but the Mets have they have like four shortstops. They have Lindor, who has been playing great. They signed Bichette. They signed Polanco as well from the Mariners. He'll probably play first base. And they also traded for Marcus Simeon. So they have a lot of middle infielders. Um, we'll see how that works out. They also traded for Luis Robert. So good for him to get out of Chicago. I mean, the White Sox, and play competitive baseball. And then the really big, I think this is the biggest deal for the Mets, and one of, if not the biggest move of the offseason, excluding Tucker. Freddie Peralta getting traded to the Mets was a huge deal. Freddie Peralta, in my opinion, a little bit of Logan Webb bias. I think he's the third best pitcher in the National League. I think he's the fifth best pitcher in the league. And he's a Met now, and that's pretty crazy that the Brewers are selling like that right after winning the most games in the majors. But small market team, this is his last year of his contract. He could re-sign with the Mets, but he is going to be a Met at least for this year. And Freddie Peralta is a special, special pitcher, and the Mets are really loading up, trying to go after the Dodgers. And I don't blame them. They have the money to spend. I think the Mets, they made some odd moves, but this Freddie Peralta deal is a game changer, and I really like this deal for the Mets. I was hoping the Giants would do it, but they gave up a lot to get Freddie Peralta. I don't think the Giants have those kind of assets, but the Mets, they did give up a lot, but they got Freddie Peralta in return, so that's pretty big. The Braves, they made a few minor signings. They signed Yastrzemski. The Phillies re-signed Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto. They did end up losing Ranger Suarez to the Red Sox, but they brought back all the offensive pieces for seemingly one last run. That core is getting a lot older, so we'll see how that works out for them this year. And who else is in the East? The Marlins. Marlins did Marlin things. I guess they didn't really do anything. And then the last team is the Nationals. They traded Gore. So that's the NL East. The NL Central, the Brewers, they traded Peralta. They traded their third baseman, Caleb Durbin. I don't really think they signed anybody. Interesting that they're selling right after winning all those games. It's pretty interesting. The big move from the NL Central came from the Chicago Cubs, who signed Alex Bregman to a 5-year, $175 million contract. This is a big deal. The Cubs lost Kyle Tucker, and I feel like the losing aspect of that, him going to a new team, hasn't really been talked about that much. But he was a great player in the first half, and he was an amazing player in the first half. The second half, he was good, but they lost Kyle Tucker, so they went with Alex Bregman, and this is a big signing. He's probably the best third base. Oh, Jose Ramirez is the best third baseman in the league, but Alex Bregman is the second best third baseman in the league, and they got him on a good deal. The Cubs added to their good offense. They still have Suzuki and Crow Armstrong and Swanson. The Cubs still have a good team. They still do. And also in the Central, the Cardinals just traded everybody and everything. They traded Brendan Donovan to the Mariners. They traded Gray to the Red Sox. They traded Wilson Contreras to the Red Sox as well. They traded Nolan Arenado to the Diamondbacks. Did they trade anybody else? Basically anything that they could have gotten, anybody that they could have gotten a return from is gone from the Cardinals. And then that leaves the Pirates and the Reds. The Pirates, like I mentioned, their moves. The Reds signed Eugenio Suarez. It's pretty much their only move. The Central looks like the Cubs division, and until somebody else goes on a crazy run, it's probably going to stay that way. Now we go to the NL West, which is where the Giants reside, and the Padres. I don't think they did anything. I don't think so. The Padres were already a good team. They lost a couple pieces, but they're still a contender. The Dodgers, we know what they did. Tucker and Diaz. I said it over and over again. The Rockies are the Rockies. The Diamondbacks got they got Arenado, and they also re-signed, or not. So they traded away and then signed back Merrill Kelly. And then the Giants. So let's talk about the Giants. I think tomorrow we'll go in depth into where the Giants stand. But as right now, the two moves of note the Giants made happened in succession, in the same week. But very recently, they signed Harrison Bader to a 2-year deal, and they signed Luis Arias to a 1-year deal. And I like these moves. I've already told you on this show how much I like them. This makes our offense complete. We upgraded our outfield defense. We got a nice contact bat for the top of the lineup. I'm happy with these two signings. I think we It's tough because the Dodgers exist, and we already weren't good enough to beat the Dodgers, and then they went out and got even better. So this is definitely not enough to compete. This is definitely not enough to beat the Dodgers. We can still compete with the Dodgers, but I don't know what would be enough. We have to spend a crazy amount. So you know, I'm I was very frustrated with our off season, but now that it's over, essentially, I I don't hate it. I kind of like it. I mean, I like these two offensive signings. The pitching staff still feels a little bit weak, but you know, we'll see how it goes. I guess maybe somebody will step up this year. Maybe a homegrown player will play well. So I think that's I think that's everything. Um, what a crazy offseason. That took 20 minutes to talk about. Just to recap the moves, not even go in depth into them. We'll definitely continue to talk about the offseason, more in depth grading stuff, talking about it. We'll have people on to talk about it, but what a crazy, crazy offseason. And baseball's back. I'm super happy about that. Um, wow, it's very cool. Very cool. So, yeah, all right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.